Welcome to the 3/2. I'm Joe Fortunato, and as always, I'm joined with Chris Grieve. What's going on, Chris?
Doing pretty good. Over the past few weeks, we haven't done that many podcasts, but we've been really getting into cards. So we wanted to talk about that today, and of course, some NBA because a lot's happened in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Kicking off, like Chris said, we've been getting in the card game. It's been fun. We both attended a card show recently. We've also been messing around on eBay, going to some card shops in the Philadelphia area. It's been a lot of fun. So first, we just want to show off some stuff we got real quick, just because it has been so much fun and it's become a hobby for both of us. What have you gotten in the past couple weeks, Chris?
So I guess I'll start with this. One of my eBay snipes I got this Bradley Beal Mosaic autograph. I got it for $10 in a bid.
Mm.
Feel like that's pretty good because it's selling around the $40 range, and people are kind of low on Beal right now because he's not playing. So I thought that was a solid pickup. And then the other one too, I opened a pack of Don Russ cards and pulled this Jalen Suggs rookie autograph. Definitely my best pull in like the past year or two. It's a 25 out of 99 autograph, rookie autograph. So that one was cool. I was hyped for that because it was like a $30 pack and the card's worth about 120.
Yeah, no, that's sick. Your luck was crazy there. And you have it in that one touch case. You might want to get it graded someday.
Yeah, it's a good looking card. It's pretty standard and all. So I think I might try and get it graded.
Sick. So for me, I wanted to find a player that is again, like you just said, like Beal. So the hype is pretty low on him. People forget Kira Lewis was a lottery pick just a year or two ago. So I've been investing in him. I got some national treasures. It's hard to we have our background blurred, so I got a couple of
Yeah,
nice
sure.
Kira cards that came in the mail. This one's Obsidian, so that's been pretty sick. I got this Ant-Man rookie card for Prism, and then eBay. We both had some luck. I lucked out sniping three Rui Hachimura PSA 9 cards for an $8 bid win, which was crazy. Definitely some luck there. And then the last card I got was this Tyler Hero PSA 10 rookie. It's also a pulsar, which is cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we've been up to. We just wanted to, I know there's some people that obviously are into basketball that are in the sports cards, and it's definitely been a fun hobby so far. We've been able to have some fun with it. So that's what we wanted to start the show off with, just something a little different. Um,
Yeah,
I think we're both pretty firm believers that the sports card business is kind of booming right now. So might as well invest a little bit.
it definitely is. It's been going up over the last couple of years. You could just tell with the prices of everything. It's so expensive to get
Mhm.
into, but we both know that unfortunately buying packs is a lot of money, but it's also a lot of fun. And if you pull something good, it's also worth a lot of money. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that
Not
product there.
no,
That we'll
that's
try and give some advice here too. One piece of advice: don't buy flux
no
boxes.
flux. No flux unless you're like buying it as a gift for someone else. They're just not
Yeah.
they're just not great packs. I don't know. I don't like the card art either, so it's kind of a lose-lose, I guess.
Yeah, and
Um,
this, if people like this could be like a way we intro the show, like show what we've picked up over the last couple of weeks, some of the packs we're opening, and then that kind of leads us into intros of talking about players because who we're investing in both in sports cards is also who we're investing in as NBA fans and who like we're going to give good takes on that we think are going to be good. Like Joe said with Kira Lewis, how people are forgetting about him and we think he could break out. So that's someone to keep your eye on. And that's kind of what the sports cards will add to this podcast.
yeah, for sure. And for those of you who don't know, me and Chris both recently joined Instagram for our card collecting. It's just a great way to meet people in the hobby and buy and sell trade cards. So yeah, I'm at the 3/2 over there, and Chris is at Grieve Autographs. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Just giving everyone a little heads up of what we've been up to the past couple of weeks. Um, so now getting more into the show. like Chris mentioned in the beginning, we definitely missed a lot of NBA action. Not having our consistent Friday uploads kind of held us back from talking about what's been going on around the league. Um, Starting us off, I mean, we want to one thing that we really wanted to highlight getting into this is the amount of 50-point games that have been happening recently. Um, Obviously, 50-point games come around every season. Multiple players get them, but to have, I believe it was 5 in a 2-week span, it's just crazy. I mean, we've seen guys like Kobe Bryant and James Harden do that themselves before, but just the random NBA players getting 50-point games was crazy to see. Kicking us off on that,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, kicking us off, I just want to talk about Sadiq Bey's 51-point game just the other week. I mean, as
that
a
was the
villain,
most random of them all.
yeah, definitely. But as a Villanova fan, love to see it. Sadiq Bey, before getting into the league, they were saying that he doesn't have a consistent jump shot. They said his body was built for the NBA, but he would lack on defense. There was a lot of cons to him getting drafted. He ended up being picked in the first round, but people were questioning Detroit after that pick, and it's kind of bizarre to me that the lack of hype he gets because Sadiq, 2 years in a row now, has broken the record for 3-pointers made in the season by a Detroit Piston. He broke it his rookie year, and now he broke it this year. What are your thoughts on Sadiq Bey and specifically that 51-point game?
I love Sadiq Bey. I love the 3-and-D aspect he brings. It stinks that he's on the Pistons though, because you don't always get to see it. But he's one of those guys that when he gets hot shooting, he gets hot.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't his only game where he's had, I think, 7, 8+ threes. Sadiq Bey can shoot sometimes, like really, really lights out. And I think that he'd be a great fit on a contending team because he does everything you want for him. He's not a guy who's going to demand the ball the whole game, be a problem at all. He's just going to play defense and score when you need him to. So I love Sadiq Bey. And I think, I don't know, this might not be his only 50-point game.
Yeah, I don't think it will. I think, like you said, he's one of those guys that get red hot. And we both were at the Pistons Sixers game at the beginning of the season. I believe it was their second home game, and we saw Sadiq Bey play very well, especially down the stretch against us. So, yeah, I mean, I got a lot of faith in Sadiq, and obviously, I'm a little bit of a bandwagon Sadiq fan because he went to Nova, but or not bandwagon, bias rather, but yeah,
Yeah.
I like Sadiq a lot. So who else had a 50-point game that you want to talk about?
Well, I guess we could talk about Kevin Durant. I think he
Yeah.
either him or I'll combine him and Kyrie together. Well, Kyrie's
Mhm.
was the best performance probably of this season so far. Pull up the stats on Kyrie's game because what did he have? 60 something? It was like,
No, I believe he
did
was
he
in
end
the
up?
I think he was in the 50s, but he had like such an efficient 50-point game.
It was 60. I just pulled it
Oh
up,
wow, it
60
was 60.
exact.
Wow.
But 20 for 31 from the field. So
Okay.
very
Yeah.
efficient. 8 for 12 from three.
Mm.
I mean, that it's him and KD. They're getting scary. They're both playing their best basketball right now. And I thought Kyrie's prime might be past him. It is not. This is the best Kyrie Irving I think I've seen. And now he's a full-time player. So that team could be dangerous. They might float at the bottom of the East of the standings, but they can shock anyone and win a series. They could win the finals as one of the lower seeds too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We definitely need to highlight that later in this episode, but the Nets are scary. They're back. They have two guys that could drop 50 any given night. KD and Kyrie. I don't know if they'll have Ben Simmons joining them, but I mean that team's dangerous. They could be one of those low seed teams that make it to the finals or make it to the conference finals. Similar to what we saw the Hawks do last year, being a 6 seed and making the conference finals. So I mean, it's interesting. They're a lot better of a team than that Hawks team, but I mean, as a Sixers fan, I don't want to see KD or Kyrie first round, not at all. Um,
Yeah, no, neither do I. That'd be the first team I'd avoid.
yeah. So moving on, we got Carl Anthony Towns. He had a 60-point game. I mean, Cat dropping 60, that's crazy. You hardly see the big men get as hot as he did. You know, when Joel has 50 points, 45 points, 40 points, somewhere in that range, he's normally getting it on the inside. He's banging bodies, getting fouled. But Cat seemed to do it all over the court. He was shooting threes very efficiently. He was dunking on people. He was hitting free throws. I mean, Cat's had a very impressive year, winning the 3-point contest, being in the All-Star game and just doing his thing. And it's good to see Karl-Anthony Towns be back. And more importantly, playing for a winning team that's a winning brand of basketball. You know, we haven't seen that from Cat in his career thus far. So what are your thoughts on Cat?
So I think this is the best basketball Cat's ever played, especially
Agreed.
offensively. He's just a beast on offense. He's been scoring better than I've ever seen him score before. It seems like he has confidence in his game and that team. But one thing I wanted to bring up with Cat, because I've been seeing it all over Twitter and Instagram, is people are trying to now say he's better than Embiid and he's the second best center in the NBA. And I just want to go on record here and say that is not true. I saw this post and all these people were saying like, oh, Cat's better at offense, but Embiid's better at defense, but I'd take Cat. And people were trying to say that argument. First of all, Cat's a very good offensive center. I'd take Embiid on offense over him any day. He's way more dominant. He can just get you. Like, I don't want to guard Embiid. There's stuff you could do to take Cat out of the game. You could double Cat. You can't really double Embiid, and Embiid can just bully anybody. But I don't know. I think people are a little overrating Cat after this 60-point game now and how good he's been over this stretch. He's still not at Embiid and Jokic level.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I know we're Sixers fans, and I know we have a bias to Embiid. But at the end of the day, I mean, the stuff that Cat's doing, Embiid's done before. He's never dropped the 60, but Embiid's done this at a high level for a winning team for multiple years now. I mean, even this year, if you want to compare this year, Joel Embiid's averaging near 30 points a game and Cat's at 25. So if you're saying he's a better offensive center, statistically, it's not true. Like, yeah, he might have a better repertoire. He might be able to shoot better than Embiid. I mean, I wouldn't even agree with having a better repertoire than Embiid.
He's a better 3-point shooter. That's it.
And that's it. I mean, Embiid could get to the line much better. Embiid's footwork's better. Embiid's fadeaway is better. I mean, Cat's great. Don't get me wrong. I've been on record on this podcast at the beginning of the season saying I don't like Karl-Anthony Towns, but I also mentioned in the beginning of the season, I just want to see him win. And he's finally doing that, and it's making me like Karl-Anthony Towns more because what he's doing is contributing to winning now.
Yeah, I think that makes me like him a lot more too. And I think before the season, we kind of did like our best at each position debates. And we were it was kind of close between like Bam and Rudy Gobert and Cat. Now, would you say Cat's overruled all that means easily the third center?
Yeah, easily the third center. If he was doing this and the Timberwolves still had 15 wins or something like that around this date, I would say no. But the fact that they're in the playoff picture and the fact that they're going to get a seed in the playoffs, most likely,
Yeah.
just really makes me think that he does deserve to be the third best center. And I think he's proved it completely.
Yeah, he definitely does. One of the things, there's a couple other 50-point games. If you want, I guess we could touch on them real quick too, because this is just random. We don't see this a lot where people get 50 this frequently, all in a short period of time. So Jason Tatum also had a 50-point game. That could kind of segue us into talking about how good the Celtics have been playing, and specifically Tatum. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Celtics have been balling. They've been playing great basketball. Jason Tatum was on the JJ Redick podcast, and one of the things he said around the trade deadline was if they trade Jaylen Brown, then the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Because I think what he's saying with that is a lot of Celtics fans, a lot of the Celtics organization, they were concerned about the team's lack of winning to that date. But the fact that they're winning now just shows Jason Tatum was right. I mean, they're making it work. You know, they've been to 2 conference finals in Jason Tatum's and Jaylen Brown's career. I mean, I think we can agree on this, that team's one piece away from being a championship team, but they are very good. And the way they've been playing recently just shows that this team can still grow together.
I think they kind of are a championship team right now. I think that they're playing at that level. And finally, people are fitting into their roles there. They needed a playmaker on that team desperately because there's a lot of just ISO scorers on that team. That was kind of their issue. But I think Marcus Smart's really found his own as the point guard there. I saw the other day, he had a game where he had 3 shot attempts, but had 13 assists. Like Marcus Smart's kind of becoming that playmaker. And you know what Smart gives you on defense and the hustle and all. That's a perfect tandem to go with Tatum and Brown, who are the bucket getters and can score. I love how they're playing right now. And I think everyone has their role. You have the vets with Al Horford. Their bigs have been playing good. Like Robert Williams has stepped in. We're not a big fan of him, but he's done his thing while he's there. So I think that this team is really balanced right now, and it's might be my favorite Celtics team that I've seen over the last couple of years, except the only team that I'd say is maybe better was the Terry Rozier Tatum rookie year. But this team, they're fun to watch. They're playing good.
Yeah, they're playing awesome. And to clarify, we only don't like Robert Williams because what he did to us in 2K. But other than that, I like him as a player on the Celtics, just not in virtual basketball.
Definitely not.
So, yeah, I mean, that team's been awesome. And another guy on that team, Jaylen Brown, who we mentioned briefly, he dropped 50 earlier this year. I believe he's done it a couple times, and I believe Tatum's done it a couple times. So, I mean, that's, again, another team that has 2 guys who could just drop 50 any given night. Definitely good players on that team. They've been balling. Not quite a 50-point performance, but I wanted to jump the gun and get to it before you did. We saw Pascal Ciaco have a great month. He's been dropping 25 consistently. He's had some 30-point games. He's had some high assist games, which is rare to see out of Siakam. But he's been rebounding well. He's been scoring well, and he's also became a playmaker recently. So what are your thoughts on your favorite player of all time, Pascal Ciaco?
Well, it's just amazing. I think he's solidified himself as an all-NBA player this year, too. He got snubbed from the All-Star game, which I know when we did our All-Star snub show, people thought I was joking with that. But no, he kind of should have been an All-Star. He's been balling. I know he was averaging like 35 and 5 from the month of March, which is wild. I think it was more rebounds, but it was something like one of the only players to average 35 and 5 I saw. So he's just been hooping lately. People forget about him and everyone loves to hate on him because, he just can do his spin move. That's all he does is that spin move. And yeah, but it works and it's good. And he's kind of turning into a point forward now too, where he could do all the playmaking for the team. I don't, that's a guy I don't want to guard when he's coming in full head of steam because he'll do the spin move. He'll do his hook. He'll find his way to score. And he's just such an aggressive player. And he's starting to get very fundamentally sound with it too now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's definitely one of those guys that can get hot, can play at a championship level. He's done it before. He's won a championship. I think he was easily the second option on that championship team. Him, Kawhi, Fred, and Kyle Lowry all teamed to do very well together, but Siakam jumped and played very well. Just last year, I'd consider myself a hater on Siakam because he was not finding his shots. He was going back to that same spin move that didn't work for him. He was getting a lot of memes because of that. But I'm so happy to see him playing well. You've kind of got me rooting for Siakam more and more. He's been awesome. So I just wanted to touch on Siakam real quick. He's been balling. While we're talking about favorite players and stuff, I think it's important to add that our last podcast, we had Mezzi on. We did our influential players draft. I just want to say an update to everyone. We had, I don't know if you're going to be, you can't see it, but we had Stephon Marbury follow us on Twitter following that podcast, which is pretty cool.
Stephon might be listening now too.
That's what I'm saying.
It pop up and he might tune in. So
we have Starbury following us. So that's
shout out to Starbury.
Yeah, our first NBA player to notice us. Pretty sick. I think we're at 26 subscribers on YouTube, maybe. So hopefully one of them, Stephon Marbury.
Yeah.
So pretty dope. Just want to say that real quick. But yeah, I mean, the main focus of this episode, if you haven't noticed already, is just recapping what's been going on in our lives and in the NBA. So we don't really have an agenda here, what we're talking about. We're kind of just bouncing around, just jumping to ideas that come to mind because it has been an exciting couple weeks. You know, we got into new things, like we mentioned earlier, the cards, Stephon Marbury following us, talking about our favorite players going off. But another thing I think is fitting to talk about is the 76ers right now. You know, we're finally a couple weeks into James Harden being a Sixer. What have you noticed? I mean, we started off 5-0 with him, and then we've slipped some games, and now he might be dealing with that hamstring injury a little more. So what are your thoughts?
It's hard to say. I'd say happy with everyone else, disappointed in Harden now. He came in and was looking amazing, looked really good, and it's just been downhill since. I don't want to give up on him yet. And I know it's just regular season. He's dealing with his hamstring injury, but he has not been his normal self lately. He's been missing a lot of shots, hasn't been too efficient, a lot of turnovers, looking slow out there on the court. I still think our team looks a lot better with Harden, though, because he just knows how to control the offense, find the open guys. I think that just adding him and adding the threat of James Harden has really elevated these other players on the team. But James Harden himself, I want him to score more. I want him to do things a little bit better than what he's doing now by the time the playoffs start. And I think maybe sitting him a couple weeks to really make sure that his hamstring's okay would be the best move for the team, because I want a fully healthy Harden giving it his all, because when Harden's scoring 40 points and Embiid can also score 40, that's dangerous. But I feel like right now Harden's kind of capping out at like 20 points and 25 points. He's not really going to get you much more than that with his limitations right now.
Yeah, and I agree. There's a couple things I do disagree with, though. I do agree with the threat of James Harden, but I haven't really, other than Tyrese Maxey, I haven't seen anyone else step up into the role. I mean, Embiid's still doing the same thing he was doing before Harden, which is exactly what we expected, exactly what we wanted. Tyrese Maxey's flourishing, which is something we kind of expected, but we didn't think he would jump to this caliber right now. I mean, arguably, Tyrese Maxey's a top 10 point guard this past month. I mean, he's been playing great basketball. Um, and I think we're both disappointed with Tobias Harris, which is a big thing. If we're going to make any sort of run, I think Tobias has to be involved, has to find his shots, has to find his spots on the floor. Another thing would be just the fact that if James Harden is sitting out for the rest of the season, that's fine. We're obviously going to clinch the playoffs. We're obviously going to be a high seed in the playoffs. But the main thing is, I just don't want to match up against Brooklyn. So whatever it takes to match up against anyone else but Brooklyn is the direction I think we need to go.
Yeah, Brooklyn's scary, and they kicked our ass when we played them. They were just a much better team than us, it seemed like that day. And it's hard to stop KD when he's not missing. Like that day, what KD was on, and we couldn't do anything about it. And I'm afraid that happens where we get a day where both Kyrie and KD are on, and we just can't do anything about it. So I'm a little worried about that matchup. I feel like we've played good against some of the other top dogs in the East, though. Like we've handled ourselves against the Bulls. We swept them. We pretty much kill the Cavs every time we play them. Bucks, we've done decent against this year. We beat the Bucks without Harden. So that's a positive there. And trying to think who else I'm missing. Who else? The Heat, or sorry, we beat the Heat without Harden. Yeah, the Celtics, what's our series against the Celtics this year?
It's definitely either split or one team won one more game. I know we beat them and I know we lost to them. So.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if there's a third game. I think we've definitely played them 3 times, but I forget what happened in the third matchup.
Yeah.
But needless to say, we're handling our own against pretty much every team in the East. The Nets are a little scary, though, because I feel like talent-wise, they might be the most talented team in the East. And it doesn't matter that they're not the high seed, that they don't have the home court advantage. First of all, I don't think Brooklyn really has that much of a home court advantage. Like they don't have that many fans there anyways. So their home court advantage doesn't really mean much. And they have a lot of experience on that team too. They honestly have more experience than us.
Yeah. Like you were saying with Brooklyn, I mean, if KD gets hot, you lose the game. That's just how it has been his whole career. Um, he's one of those guys that's more hot than not. Like you rarely see games where KD shoots very bad. He's either shooting like NBA league average or way above it. So, I mean, yeah, I really do not want to see KD first round, because if we do win that series, I can't imagine us winning it any other game than game 7. I just think they're way too talented, way too skilled, way too good of a roster to beat them in 6, 5, 4, whatever. And when you go, and the problem is when you go to game 7, the first series, I mean, your team is drained going into that next series.
Oh yeah.
If a team gets a sweep, they get to chill out, practice for a bit. But if you go to 7, I mean, you're going back to action less than a week later. Your body's beat up. Playoffs are high intensity, so I definitely want to see the Sixers get a matchup where they can win in 5 or 6 or even 4. It'll be interesting. This NBA playoffs is going to be the most fun NBA playoffs I think I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, there's so many teams that could contend this year. And I think also we're going to get a team like the Hawks from last year. One of these teams that kind of flies under the radar that makes a run and makes a name for themselves in this year's playoffs. So I think we should maybe go over this, look at the NBA standings, and then kind of go over which teams we think are contenders and which ones we're kind of out on and we don't think are contenders. So I guess want to do East or West first?
Let's do the East first.
All right, yeah, we've been talking about them. I guess first up we have the Heat. They're the number 1 seed. I think that they're safe to be contenders.
Yep.
They have the experience, although they had like a little altercation the other day with Udonis and Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler's kind of been falling down a little bit. He hasn't been playing as good lately. He keeps coming in and out with injuries. I feel like Jimmy Butler's starting to kind of go on the downfall, but who knows by time playoffs start what Jimmy Butler turns into, because he could just take over in the playoffs.
Yeah, and they got a guy off the bench, Tyler Hero, who could just put up 20 any given game. He averages 20 points a game. They're just such a well put together team. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they flourish. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one more thing about them. I think that their timeline to win a championship is like next 1 or 2 years too, because Kyle Lowry, it's his birthday today. He's 36 years old. I don't know how they're going to do things with contracts. They gave Duncan Robinson a huge deal and some of these other players. And I think Jimmy Butler's kind of starting to go on the downfall. He's out. I think he's almost out of his prime now. But as I said, that could change by time playoffs starting. You could see a different Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, no, totally.
Next up in the East, we have the Bucks. I think without saying they're a contender. I think they might be my pick to win the East right now. I think I'm going to go Bucks as my pick. They did it last year. They were the NBA champions last year, and Giannis hasn't took a step back at all. He's gotten better, if anything, and that team is just as balanced. It's the same role players. I don't know why I wouldn't pick them to win it again.
Yeah, I mean, you can't not include them. They just won. They just did it. So pretty much the same roster. They're just going to run it back. Yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say about the Bucks. I think it's self-explanatory why they're contenders.
Yeah, for sure. Then next we got Sixers. We kind of talked on the Sixers a lot already, but
yeah,
realistically, what do you see the fate of the Sixers being?
I mean, it's so hard to tell. I want to say conference finals. And once we get to the conference finals, it's anyone's game. I don't really have an answer until we see our matchups. The East is just so competitive right now. It's hard to say.
I totally agree. It's matchup dependent. If there's some scenario where we play, like if we go I don't know, like Cavs first round, then Bulls second round, then I think we're an Eastern Conference Finals team. But if we're matched up against maybe Celtics, Bucks, Nets, I really think that we might be a second round exit again. And realistically, I don't see us winning a championship this year. I want to see it happen, but I don't think we get through I don't even think we make it to the finals. I think it'd be a really hard struggle for this team to make it to the championship.
Yeah, it's going to be a struggle. We'll see what happens though. That's the fun of the playoffs.
Yeah, and hopefully Tyrese Maxey comes in and does his thing because every time we watch him, he gets better and better. So
That's
maybe
it.
come playoff times, he's going to be giving us 30 every game.
That would be nice.
Next up, Celtics. We talked about the Celtics already a little bit, but I think that they're a contender for me. I think that they're one of the top 3 teams I have making it out of the East. I think there's a very high chance that they could even make the finals. I think this is one of the most complete Celtics teams we've seen, and probably Jason Tatum's best season so far.
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing great. We already spoke about the 250-point scorers they have. Yeah, I mean, they're one of those teams that have been to the conference finals and could potentially make a push for the championship. I still am a firm believer that they're one piece away, but who knows? Anything can happen.
Yeah, definitely. The next team up is the Bulls. I'm going to go right now. I'll say Bulls are not a contender to make it out of the East. What do you think on the Bulls?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's much to say other than the fact they're pretty beat up. Lonzo been in and out, Zach LaVine in and out, Patrick Williams trying to make a comeback, might be out for the year still. Alex Caruso banged up. I just think they're too injured. I think if they run it back healthy, they have a chance. But I also think that this was the window they had only because I think this is the peak of DeMar DeRozan's career. Will he do it next year? Maybe. We've seen many surprises out of DeMar DeRozan, especially being an MVP candidate for most of the season. But yeah, I think that's really all I can say on the Bulls. I think they're pretenders. I don't think they're going to be able to contend with everyone else.
I also think you said DeMar DeRozan going past his peak. I think Vucevic is now on the decline too.
Yeah.
So we're running out of time with those guys there. I love this team going into this year, but it just hasn't worked out with injuries. And I don't know. I see them as a good team. They might win a series, maybe even win 2, but they're not making it to the finals. There's no way they get through all their matchups.
Yeah, agreed.
And then I'll do a couple more. I'll do Cavs at 6. I like the Cavs, not a contender.
Yeah.
They're a pretender. Well, I don't think we have to go too much more into that. Raptors are the 7 right now. I think the Raptors could upset someone, but they're not going to make it to the finals, so they're not a contender.
Yeah, I think their peak, just like the Cavs, is the second round on an upset, maybe. But other than that, nothing else.
And then 8 right now is the Nets. Of course, it's the Nets at 8, and they're a contender. And for me, I think I'd go Bucks are my number 1 team out of the East. Then I'd go Nets.
Yeah, and you can't really blame them for being the 8th seed just because of the injuries, and then obviously Kyrie Irving being in and out of the lineup. Yeah, I mean, contenders. And if they play the Heat first round, I mean, there's a chance the Heat don't walk out of that first round. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that just bothers me though, that they're the 8th seed. All these teams worked so hard to get where they are this year, and then they're just going to come in and kind of mess stuff up. Yeah. All right, we'll do the Western Conference now, and then I think we'll probably call the podcast after that. So doing some little bit more pretenders and contenders here. So we got the West. Suns just clinched the number 1 seed the other day. They're easily a contender. They might be my favorites to win it all too.
Yeah, I mean, the Suns, like we spoke about at the beginning of the season, they're just such a well put together team. They got veterans. They got people who will dive on the ball. They got young guys that play very good defense. Devin Booker could score the ball well. They're just such a well put together team. They're the ideal team that you want to put together every single year to contend. So, yeah, I mean, that's my answer right there. They're contenders.
Yeah, we also missed he would have gotten mentioned if he had 50, but Devin Booker had 48 yesterday in the game to clinch them.
That's
so
right.
They've been amazing. Next up, we have the Grizzlies. This one I'm split on. I don't think that they get past the Suns, but I think they're going to be a fun team and at least win a playoff series.
Yeah, I think they get out of the first round. I think the bottom of the West is very just poor. That's the best way to put it.
They should win 2 rounds, actually.
It's gonna be tough to say.
Depends who they play.
Well,
Because they might play the Warriors the second round.
well, another thing I want to mention is I really don't like mentioning this, but I have to. I still think that the Lakers are a tough first round matchup. Like for the Grizzlies, I just really, I mean, Grizzlies are the better team, hands down. Don't get me wrong. I just think going up against LeBron at any point in the playoffs is tough.
I kind of see what you're saying. Like they even made it competitive against the Suns last year.
Mhm.
And but do the Lakers even make it? They're 31 and 42 right now. They're the 10th seed. Right now, I think, what was it, the Pelicans? Yeah, the Pelicans passed them for the seed ahead of them. I, the Lakers look awful. And I feel like it's only LeBron. You get flashes from the other guys, like Malik Monk will have a good game, and some of their other players will have a good game, but they're just so dysfunctional and such a mess right now. I don't think that they are a contender, or at best, maybe they upset like a team like the Grizzlies, but I think
Mhm.
realistically they're going to be playing against the 1 seed in the Suns, and it'll probably be Suns in 5.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree. They're really good. I think their only chance would be matching up against the Grizzlies, and still then it would just be very slim
Yeah,
of them winning. Um, all right, so we touched on the Lakers a lot. So who's in at 3? The Warriors?
yeah. Warriors are 3. Warriors are a contender, although they've just been. I don't know. I haven't been as high on them lately. They
They've had
started
a
off the year red hot, but
yeah,
you know,
and that's what I was gonna say. They've had a tough second half of the year. Um, I mean, they're still very good. Steph Curry is one of those guys who could carry a team, get hot. Um, I think they're a contender still.
I think they are too. Definitely because we've seen it with them before. They've won multiple championships. It's a lot of the same core. Draymond Green and Clay have been very banged up this second half of the year. It's been like kind of Draymond missed a few weeks. Clay's missing pretty much like every other game. And I think they'll finally get it to click, but and they're a team that will give way more effort come playoff time. So I think we got to include the Warriors. They're a contender. I think right now I'd say the Suns, then them out in the West. Couple other teams left. We got the Jazz. What are your thoughts on them? Are they finally going to get over the hump?
Mm, I think they're a piece away, but I think they are contending still. And by contending, I think their peak is the conference finals, but they are one of those teams that are just so good on defense that they could just take a star out of the game. So it makes it interesting. I mean, the Jazz, we've seen them hit the conference finals, but we've seen them get upset in the playoffs as well. So it's just going to depend on who their matchup is and how they match up against them.
Yeah, right now it's them playing the Mavericks in the first round, and I can honestly see the Mavericks taking it to them and beating them. Um, the Jazz, you never know with them. They're always play so good in the regular season and always kind of fall apart come playoffs. I still think they're a piece away, and they haven't done anything over the last couple of years. They just keep running it back with the same team, and it's a good team, but is it really a championship level team? I don't think so. So I'm going to say pretenders for the Jazz.
That's
And then
fair.
the Mavericks were the next team up. Um, Kind of touched on them already. I think the Mavericks could be contenders to make it to the conference finals. I could even see them beat a dark horse finals team, but not win it at all.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I think Luca has way too much on his shoulders come playoff time. I just don't see them getting over the hump. Um, I think they're pretenders. I think if anything, they play the Jazz first round, and if Utah has that home court advantage, I think Utah wins that series pretty easily. Um, I mean, it's just hard to say because Luca can will his team to wins like he's been doing all season. But I think when playoff intensity comes, I think he has way too much on his shoulders.
Yeah, I see that, and they need to get Luca help. But honestly, someone I wanted to talk about, we haven't talked about this trade since it happened. Spencer Dinwiddie's gone to the Mavericks, and he's done his thing. He's been a beast there. I think that
Yeah.
right now, if you're just looking at it through what Spencer Dinwiddie's contributing, he's contributing more than Porzingis. He's finally been the number 2 for Luca, and I think that he kind of looked awful on the Wizards. Dinwiddie. He comes to the Mavericks. He's kind of revived his career, gotten back to the Dinwiddie we knew, and he's been a baller there.
Yeah, right. He's flashing back to when he was a Brooklyn Net. He's playing very good. And I'm excited for him to be there a whole season next year because I think he can do well.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we got Nuggets, and Nuggets. Jokic has been balling. They've been playing all right, but again, it might be another situation like with Luka and the Mavericks. It's like how much can Jokic really carry this team? Because I like some of their role players, but it's just not the same. And I think they're also a piece away without Porter Jr. and Murray there.
I disagree completely because they have Bones Highland on that team. If you're talking about a guy that's going to
He's
carry
been
the
a
playoffs,
beast lately, though.
yeah, he has. No, but seriously, yeah, I do see what you're saying, and I agree. See, I would say for them what you said about the Mavericks, for them being my dark horse team.
Okay.
I think they match up very well against the Warriors. I think the guard play obviously is tough, with Clay and Steph, but there's not a big man on the Warriors that can control Jokic. Um, I think that matchup, each team has their strengths and weaknesses. It kind of goes together well. They had a rough start to the season, but they've been very good the second half.
Yeah, no, they definitely have. I think that I get what you're saying there. I'd say Mavericks are my dark horse, but I could see where you're coming from with that. And then the last team I wanted to talk about here is the Timberwolves. We talked about them earlier in the show. I love how they're playing. They kind of remind me of like the Nets from what was it? The D'Lo Nets from a few years ago. Like they're a fun team that you love and they'll get in the playoffs that will kind of be a fan favorite, but you really don't have hopes for them to do anything.
And it's funny you say that because they have D'Lo now, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean I agree completely.
Yeah. So that's pretty much our thoughts on this. I can't wait to see these matchups because once I see what the actual matchups are, then I might change my perspectives that I gave here. And I'm sure the same goes for you too, because as we said, like Nuggets Warriors matchup, that'd be an interesting first round matchup where
Yeah.
I could see the Nuggets winning that series. And these matchups, they're going to be fun. And you got the Nets out east. There's going to be some interesting stuff going on. So that's almost playoff time. We just got over the fun part of the year, the trade deadline. Now we're kind of in the dull area where people are just fighting for seeds and there's a couple teams fighting for playoffs, but with the play-ins, like it kind of makes the playoff races a little lame. But we're getting to that point where it's almost playoff basketball, and we can't wait for it for our show.
Yeah, it's been a fun show. We did something a little different, incorporating the cards into this. I think that's something we'll continue to do.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to catch up on the season to this day. And we'll be back next week with the same kind of format. We're just going to talk about a recap of this week, but it'll be a lot easier to recap because we're going to keep it controlled to just this week instead of the last like 4 or
yeah.
5 weeks. But we also might have a guest on next week. We're going to play it by ear, see if we can make time to get them on. But other than that, I mean, it's been a great show. You have any final comments, Chris?
That's pretty much all. We're definitely going to try and get some more guests and maybe do some of the drafts like what we did with Mezzi too. I think we have some big plans coming up for the show with guests and drafts and fun things like that. So stay tuned. If you like that stuff, we're going to try and do a lot more of that.
Yeah, well put. And this is obviously going to be uploaded on YouTube, and we're going to have it uploaded for our content in our personal branding class as well. And I'm also going to throw this out all over Instagram, and I'm sure Chris is going to do the same.
Put it
So
on Twitter.
yeah, for sure. And we'll also have a graphic out here shortly.
Yep.
All right. Well, it's been the 3/2. Thanks for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and on our card pages. So anything else, Chris? That's it.
That's all. Thank
All
you all
right.
for watching.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.